Neil. Joining me for this is Dan. Hello. And can I say, Dan, you're looking very. And can I say, Dan, you're looking very.
With the aim of losing weight, with the aim بهدف, with the aim of losing quickly, with the aim weight, with the aim of بهدف, with the aim of losing weight quickly.
With the aim of losing weight quickly. With the aim of losing weight quickly. Yes, I know that eating this way can be risky for you. Yes, I know that eating this way can be risky for your health, and it can be risky for your health.
Can be risky for your health. Can be risky for your health. Can be risky for your health. Can be risky of your health. Can be risky of your health. محفوظ أو خطر. Can be risky for your health.
Risky.
محفوظ بالمخاطر. Can be risky.
It can be risky for your health, and it can be risky for your health, and they don't always work.
And they don't always work.
That's true, and now scientists.
That's true, and now scientists. Scientists
That's true, and now scientists have some evidence that shows that our weight is not just controlled. Our weight is not just controlled by what we eat. So it might
that our weight is not just controlled by what we eat. It's not controlled by what we eat. So it might be controlled by what we eat. So it might be
quite natural for someone to be thin.
So it might be quite natural if someone to be thin or fat.
Or fat, it's all to do with their genes.
It's all to do with their genes.
Or fat, it's all to do with their genes. Research published in the journal.
Research published in the journal. منشور. Research published the journal.
Research published in the journal PLOS Genetics. Journal P explains how twin studies have shown that about 40%
have shown that about 40%
of the explains how twin studies have
explain how Twin study have shown that
about 40% of the variation in a person's weight is
variation in person weights تباين تقارب variation
in a person's weight is affected by their genes. Is affected by their genes.
Is affected by their genes. Is affected by their genes. Is affected by their genes. Is affected by their genes. Is effective يتأثر بجيناته.
Affected.
Is affected by their gene. Is affected يتأثر. Is affected by their gene.
Variation is affected by their genes. Is affected by their genes, and also why thin but healthy people. And also why thin but healthy people have. And also why.
And also why thin. And
also why thin but healthy people have genetic advantages and have genetic advantages and have genetic advantages.
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 But have
genetic advantages and have genetic advantages in terms of maintaining health, in terms of maintaining healthy.
maintaining المحافظة maintaining المحافظة
in terms of maintaining a healthy weight. 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 So that in terms of maintaining a healthy weight. In terms of maintaining a healthy weight.
In terms of maintaining a healthy weight. In terms of maintaining a healthy weight.
In terms of maintaining
a healthy weight.
In terms of maintaining a healthy weight. So that means that losing weight. So that means that losing weight isn't just about having willpower.
Willpower, إرادة, isn't just about having willpower. Isn't just about having willpower.
It isn't just about having willpower. It isn't just about having willpower. That's controlling your own behavior to achieve. That's controlling your own behavior to achieve something. It's your own behavior to achieve something. It's actually about something that's actually your own behavior to
behavior. سلوك behavior
your own behavior to achieve something. It's your own behavior to achieve something.
Achieve something. Behavior to achieve something. تحقيق شيء. Your own behavior to achieve something.
Your own behavior actually about something that's out of our control? Yes. Out of our control? Yes, possibly. Yes, possibly. Let's hear. Yes, possibly. Let's hear from the. Yes, possibly. Let's hear.
Yes, possibly.
Yes, possibly. Let's hear from the study's author,
Let's hear for the study author.
From the study's author, Sada Faruqi, who is professor of metabolism and medicine at the University of Cambridge, and has been a pioneer in the genetics of obesity.
Pioneer, right? Pioneer. 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 Pioneer.
Pioneer.
Right. Pioneer.
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 Pioneer. Right.
Pioneer.
Pioneer. Pioneer. Pioneer.
Pioneer in the genetics of obesity for
Obesity. Genetics. Obesity. Genetic. Obesity. Genetic obesity. Genetics of obesity.
Pioneer in the genetics of obesity for more than 20 years.
For more than 20 years.
More than 20 years. Obesity. More than 20 years.
For more than 20 years. For more than 20 years. For more than 20 years.
More than 20. Obesity, of course, is where someone is very overweight. Obesity, of course, is where someone is very overweight. Obesity, of course, is where someone is very overweight. Obesity, of course, is where someone is very
Obesity, of course, is where someone is very overweight.
Overweight in a way that's dangerous for their health. Overweight in a way that's dangerous for their overweight in a way that's dangerous for their health.
In way that dangerous. In way that dangerous.
Overweight in a way that's dangerous for their health. Overweight in a way that's dangerous for their health. Here she
Overweight in a way that dangerous.
Overweight in a way that's dangerous for their health. Here she is speaking on the BBC World Service Programme. Health check. What does she say might be one of the benefits of this research for people who are overweight.
Research for the people who are overweight.
Of this research for people who are
Research for the people who are overweight. Research for people who are overweight. Research for people who are overweight. Research for people who are overweight. الذين
of this
She can be very helpful. The difficulties they have to come to terms. Very helpful in trying to get them to. Very helpful in trying to get them to come to terms with some of the difficulties they may be having, but also to come to terms with some of the difficulties they may be having, but also some of the difficulties they may be having, but also some of the difficulties they may be having, but some of the difficulties they may be having.
Difficult they may be having.
To come to terms with some of the
To come to terms with someone, some of the difficult.
also help them to engage with
But also help them arrange مشاركة engage but also help them engage
also help them to engage with help and support to try to encourage weight loss.
encourage weight loss يشجع encourage weight loss.
To try to encourage. I hope one of the main outcomes of this work might be. I hope one of the main outcomes of.
I hope one of the main outcomes النتائج.
I hope one of the main outcomes of this work might be to a little bit start to get people thinking about that. Because people aren't very judgmental and tend to think.
Because people are very judgmental
And tend to think, look, if I can stay thin, and if I can stay thin,
judgmental because people are judgmental and tend to think يميلون and tend to think
and tend to think, look, if I can stay thin and control my weight.
If I can stay thin and control of my weight and control my weight,
why can't you?
Why can't you?
Why can't you? And why can't you? And what I would say to that is, well, the data now,
and what I say to that as well.
And what I would say to that is, well, the data now, shows that you're probably quite lucky.
Shows that you are probably quite
lucky in terms.
You're probably quite lucky
in terms of the genes that you have. In terms of the genes that you.
In terms of the genes.
Lucky you have, rather than just being.
You have, rather just being. Rather. You have, rather just.
You have, rather than just being. Either morally superior or.
Either morally superior. Superior. Other morally superior.
Either morally superior or having better willpower. Or having better willpower. Or having better willpower.
أو لديك قوة إرادة أفضل. Or having better willpower.
Or having
Some interesting thoughts there.
some interesting thoughts there.
For people who are overweight. For people who are.
For people who are overweight.
For people who are overweight. For people who are overweight, this research can help them. This research can help them come to terms.
This research can help them
come to terms with the struggle.
Come to terms with the struggle. Struggle نضال.
Struggle.
Come to terms. Come to terms with the struggle.
Them come to terms with the struggle. They may be. Them come to terms with the struggle. They may be having to lose weight.
They may be having to lose weight.
Be having to lose weight. When you come, be having to lose weight. When you come to terms with something.
When you come to terms with something. عندما تتصالح مع شيء. When you come to term with something.
Come to terms.
Come to terms. When you come to terms.
Terms.
When you come to terms with something.
Come to terms with something. Come to terms with something. You start to accept the difficult or unpleasant. You start to accept the difficult or unpleasant situation you are in. You start to accept the difficult or You start to accept the difficult or unpleasant situation you are in.
Unpleasant situation for you. You start to accept the difficult. You start to accept the difficult or unpleasant. Unpleasant. غير سارة. Unpleasant situation you are in. You start to accept the difficult or unpleasant situation you are. You start to accept the difficult or unpleasant situation. Unpleasant situation. Unpleasant situation.
You start to accept the difficult or You start to accept the difficult or unpleasant situation you are in.
Unpleasant situation you are in. Unpleasant situation and you're in. You start to accept the difficult. 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 You start to accept the difficult.
You start to accept the difficult or You start to accept the difficult or unpleasant situation you are in.
Or unpleasant situation you are in.
So I suppose she means accept. So I suppose she means accepting that if you're trying to shed a few. Accepting that if you're trying to shed a few. So I suppose she means accept. So I suppose she means accepting that if you're trying to shed a few. Accepting.
Trying to shed.
Shed.
If you're trying to shed. Trying to shed.
So accepting that if you pounds unsuccessfully.
دون جدوى. To trying to shed a few pounds unsuccessfully. Unsuccessfully.
Few pounds.
دون جدوى.
It's not all your fault, and it may It's not all your fault.
It's not all your fault. And it means stop.
May stop people being so judgmental.
May stop, and it may stop people being so judgmental.
May stop. That's so quick to criticize people based
That's so quick. That's so quick.
Criticize.
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 That's so quick to criticize people based
on their own
based on their
beliefs.
own beliefs.
A slim person might say, well, a slim person might say,
Slim person may say,
I ate less and lost weight, so why can't you?
why can't you? لماذا لا تستطيع أنت؟
Why can't you? And now we know things aren't quite that simple.
Are not quite that simple.
Quite.
Quite. Are not quite that simple.
Aren't.
We know things aren't quite that simple.
Now we know things aren't quite that simple. You're just lucky to have the right genes.
You're just lucky to have the right genes.
That it doesn't make you morally superior. But it doesn't make you morally superior.
But it doesn't make you morally superior.
But it doesn't make you morally superior.
But it doesn't make you morally superior. But it doesn't make you morally superior.
Morally.
But it doesn't make you morally superior. But it doesn't make you morally superior. Superior.
Superior.
Superior.
Superior.
Morally superior. Morally superior. But it doesn't make you morally superior. متفوقا أخلاقيا. Morally superior.
But it doesn't make you morally superior. So it's not just about having willpower. This research is much more detailed, of course, than we've had time to explain.
Details, of course, than we have. Details, of course, than we have. This research
is much more detailed, of course, than we've had time to explain here. But for someone who is overweight,
But for someone who is overweight,
will they feel defeated? Will they feel defeated?
will they feel defeated? Defeated?
Defeated.
They will feel defeated. They will be defeated.
Will they feel defeated? Absolutely not, according to Professor Faruqi. Absolutely not, according to
Absolutely not, according to Professor
Absolutely not, according to Absolutely not, according to Professor Faruqi. For people who are Professor Faruqi. For people who are obese, this research is who are obese. This research is who are obese.
For people who are obese, this research is helpful.
Is helpful. Not only should it give them hope, is helpful. Is helpful. Not only should it give them hope, it could lead to the is helpful. Not only should it give them hope, is helpful.
Not only should it give them hope, الأمل,
Is helpful. Not only should it give them hope, it could lead to the development of hope. It could lead to the development of
it could lead, it could lead, it could lead to development. It could lead, it could lead تؤدي,
lead,
it could lead to the development.
hope. It could lead to the development of hope. It could lead to the development of medicines to help them. But medicines to help them. But as genes only play a part in but as genes only play a part in our size. But as genes only play a part in but as
only play part تلعب دورا, but as genes only play a part in our size.
in our size and weight, in our size and weight, we should all eat a healthy diet. We should all eat a healthy diet. We should all eat a healthy diet.
We should all eat healthy.
We should all eat a healthy diet. We should all eat a healthy diet and do some exercise. Diet and do some exercise.
Die and do some exercise.
Diet, and there is always new research about the best things to do and about the best things to do and the right things to eat. The right things to eat. Recently, research published in the
Recently, research published
Recently, research published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine.
in the British Journal of Sport Medicine.
The British Journal of Sports Medicine said that bursts of high intensity
Burst of high intensity.
bursts,
Said the burst التدريبات
said that bursts of high intensity interval training may be more effective for weight loss than
may be more effective for weight loss than long.
more effective for weight loss than longer, less intense workouts.
Less intense workouts for weight loss than longer, less intense workouts.
Less intense workouts. A burst is less intense workouts. A burst is a sudden and short less intense.
A burst is sudden مفاجأة.
Sudden and short increase in something. Sudden and short increase in something. Sudden and even if diets don't help you lose weight, eating a balanced diet can lose weight, can certainly keep you healthy,
can constantly keep your health. Constantly.
Certainly. Certainly.
Can certainly keep your health.
Can certainly keep you healthy. Can certainly keep you healthy and make you feel good. Healthy and make you feel good. And healthy.
Certainly بالتأكيد can certainly keep your health and make you feel good.
Healthy and make you feel good. And healthy and make. And as I'm talking about diets, why don't I answer? And as I'm talking about diets, why don't I answer the? And as I'm talking about diets, why don't I answer the question?
The question I asked you earlier.
The question I asked you earlier.
The question I asked you earlier.
The question.
سابقا earlier.
Earlier.
أبكر. I asked you earlier.
The question I asked you earlier. The question. What's in carbohydrates? But you can have as much in carbohydrate fat. A, the Mediterranean diet, or C, and that is correct. Woohoo! And that is correct. Woohoo! Well done.
Correct.
This well-known low-carb diet was developed by this
well-known low-carb diet was developed by
the American physician and cardiologist Robert Atkins in the 19th. Other low-carb diets are available. Neil, I think it's time we reminded ourselves of some.
Remind ourselves.
Reminded
ourselves of some of the vocabulary we've discussed today. Good idea. Let's talk about paunch. Good idea. Let's talk another name for a fat stomach.
Another name for fat stomach
that men like.
Stomach.
Another name for men like me and you. Men like me and you have. Men like me and you have.
That men like me and you have.
Speak for yourself. I'm closer to skinny. A word to describe skinny. Someone looking very thin and sometimes ill. Our next word be thin and sometime word was willpower. If you have willpower, you can control your own behavior. Control your own behavior to achieve something. The next phrase, come to terms with something, means you start to something, means you start.
Come to terms with something. Come to terms with something means you start to accept the difficult or unpleasant
situation you are in. If you're judgmental, you're quick to criticize people. You're quick
To criticize people.
Quick to criticize people based on your own beliefs.
Based on your own beliefs. Based on your own beliefs. بناء على معتقداتك. Quick
to criticize people.
Criticize. Quick to criticize people based on your own beliefs.
Quick to criticize people based on your own beliefs. And finally, we mentioned a burst of high intensity interval training. A burst of high intensity interval is a sudden and short
increase in something. Burst.
Well, we've had a burst of vocabulary there.
A burst of vocabulary.
Well, we've there, and it's time to say goodbye. Please join us next. Catherine, are you flexitarian?
Oh no, I'm not really religious, Neil. Oh no.
Catherine, are you flexitarian?
Oh,
Catherine, are you flexitarian?
Are you flexitarian? هل أنت مرن؟
oh no, I'm not really religious, Neil. Oh no, I'm not really religious, Neil. Oh no, I'm not really religious, Neil.
Religious متدين.
Religious.
متدين.
Oh no, I'm not really religious, Neil.
It's not a religion, it's a diet. It means mainly eating plant-based foods and
It means mainly. Mainly.
It means mainly eating plant-based foods and only occasionally eating meat.
And only occasionally eating meat. Occasionally من حين إلى آخر. And only occasionally meat.
And only occasionally eating meat.
And only occasionally meat.
And only occasionally eating meat.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I see. Sorry, I don't eat too much meat, so I'm kind of on. I don't eat too much meat, so I'm kind of on the way to.
So I'm kind of on the way. I'm kind of on the way to.
I don't eat too much meat, so I'm kind of on. I don't eat too much meat, so I'm kind of on the way to flexitarianism.
Flexitarianism.
On the way to flexitarianism.
Some people don't eat meat for ethical reasons.
Ethical reasons. لأسباب أخلاقية. Ethical reasons.
For ethical reasons. That means that for them it's wrong to eat meat.
For them, it's wrong to eat meat.
That for them it's wrong to eat meat. That for them it's wrong to eat meat.
It's wrong to eat meat. من الخطأ تناول اللحوم.
That for them it's wrong to eat meat. It's wrong that animals should be killed. Meat. It's wrong that animals should be killed for
It's wrong that animals should be killed. It's wrong that animals should be killed.
meat. It's wrong that animals should be killed for our meat. It's wrong that animals should be killed for our food. But one of the reasons for being our food. But one of the reasons for being flexitarian and
But one of the reasons for being
flexitarian and only eating meat once in a while is for the benefit of the planet. Once in a while is for the benefit of the planet. Once in a while is for the benefit of the planet. Once in a while is for the benefit of the planet. According to a recent report.
Planet according to recent report. Planet according while for
Once in a while is for
once
the
is
benefit.
a while once in a while for the benefit of
Once
the
in a
planet.
while. According to a recent report being according to a recent
According to a recent report, وفقا لتقرير حديث recent report
According to a recent report, being flexitarian is healthier for the individual. Being flexitarian is healthier for the individual. Being flexitarian is healthier for the individual.
Flexitarian is healthier for the individual. أكثر صحة للفرد. Flexitarian is healthier for the individual.
Being flexitarian is healthier for the individual. Being flexitarian is healthier for the individual, but can also help to fight climate change.
But can also
help to fight climate change.
But can also help to fight climate change.
That can also help to fight climate change. That can also help to fight climate change. Before we look in more detail at this topic, a question.
Before we look in more detail at this topic.
Before we look in more detail at this topic, a question. Do you like peppers, Catherine? Like peppers, Catherine?
Yes, I do. Is that correct? Yes, I do. Is that correct?
Well, that's not the quiz question, but well, that's.
Yes, I do. Is that correct?
Well, that's not the quiz question, but this is. All peppers are in the same, but this is. All peppers are in the same food, but this is. All peppers are in the same food group. What group is it?
What group is it? ما هي المجموعة? What group is it?
Are peppers fruit, vegetables, or are peppers fruit, vegetables, or herbs? Any ideas? Herbs. Any ideas?
Any ideas?
Herbs. Any ideas?
This one sounds like a trick. This one sounds like a trick
This one sounds like a trick.
question, but I think it's obvious question.
But
I think it's obviously vegetables. Yep, obviously vegetables. Yep.
Obviously.
Obviously vegetables. Yep, Obviously, vegetable.
Obviously, veg-
Obviously.
obviously,
Obviously.
vegetables.
Obviously, vegetables. Yep. Obviously, vegetables. Yep. Obviously, vegetables. Yep.
Well, you'll have to wait a bit. Well, you'll have to wait.
Well, you'll have to wait a bit.
Well, you'll have to wait a bit to find out. I'll have the answer later.
To find out a bit. To find out المعنى كذلك. You'll have to wait a bit to find out.
To find out. I'll have the answer later. To find out. I'll have the answer later in the program. Now, Dr. Marco Springman is from the University of Oxford and was one of the lead authors of a
major reporter.
Authors.
Lead authors of a major
one of the lead authors of a major report. One of the lead authors of a major report that looked at the global food system.
عالمي global food systems that looked at the global food system
that looked at the global food system and how it affects the climate.
And how it affects on the climate.
And how it affects the climate. And how it affects the climate. And how it affects the climate.
And how it affects on the climate. And how it affects on the effects.
And how it affects the climate.
And how it affects the climate.
And how it affects the climate. On the beatum and how it affects the climate. On the BBC Today program, he talked about what changes would be needed. He talked about what changes would be needed.
Would be needed. Talked about the changes would be needed.
Does he mention needed? Does he mention just one thing? Just one thing needed. Does he mention needed?
Does he mention just one thing?
He talked about what changes would.
We really found that of measures would be needed to add
the combination.
Environmental limits, and those of measures would add a combination of
We really found a combination of measures. تدابير measures.
And a combination of measures would be needed to stay within of measures.
Would be needed to stay within.
Of measures would be needed to stay within of measures would be needed to stay within environmental limits, and those environmental limits and
environmental limits, environmental limits, environmental limits, environmental limits,
environmental,
environmental, environmental, environmental limits,
environmental limits, and those
environmental limits, and those include
environmental limits, and those include environmental limits, and those include environmental limits, and those include environmental limits,
environmental البيئي, environmental limits حدود البيئة,
environmental limits, and those include changes towards health,
and those include change toward
changes towards health, changes towards health,
changes toward healthier,
changes towards healthier, more changes towards
healthier,
changes towards healthier, more changes towards healthier,
changes towards healthier, towards من اتجاه,
changes towards healthier, more plant-based diets, ambitious more plant-based diets, ambitious technological improvements and changes,
ambitious, طموح, ambitious,
more plant-based diet, technological improvements and changes in technological improvements and changes in technological improvements, technological improvement, technological improvements and changes in
improvements and changes, improvements, the changes, improvements and the changes,
technological improvements and changes,
technological improvements and the changes,
in farming management,
in farming management,
and the reduction of food,
in farming management and reduction of food, and reduction of
food loss and waste.
So, did he mention just one thing, Catherine?
No, not at all.
So, did he...
No, not at all. He said that there would need to be a combination of measures, which means a variety of combination of measures. There would need to be a combination of measures, which means a variety of different actions.
a variety
of different actions,
different actions, including different actions, including different actions,
variety,
تشكيلة, variety, variety of different actions included.
a variety of different actions, including a variety of different actions, moving to a plant plant-based diet, moving to a plant-based diet,
moving to a plant-based diet, developing,
moving to a plant-based diet, developing technology, changing the way we farm and wasting less food.
and wasting less food,
Wasting.
and wasting less food.
Farm and wasting less food.
He described the need
And wasting less food, and wasting less food.
He described the need for ambition. He described the need for ambitious technological improvements. Ambitious here means the developments will have to be impressive, above the ordinary. The ordinary, not simple. The ordinary, not simple.
And ordinary, not a simple. Ordinary,
Ordinary.
عادي. Ordinary, the ordinary and not simple. The ordinary and not simple. The ordinary and not simple will have to be impressive.
Will have to be impressive, above.
Impressive will have to be impressive above. Will have to be impressive above.
Will have to be impressive, above the ordinary, not simple.
Ordinary,
The ordinary, not simple. Dr. Springman was asked if we had to completely remove meat from the food that we eat. Completely remove meat from the healthy. What in the food that we completely remove the food that we eat to be healthy.
that we eat. Completely remove meat from the food that we eat.
From the food healthy. What was his recommendation?
Recommendation. What was his recommendation? ما هي توصيته? What was his recommendation?
Well, we surveyed the literature on what a healthy diet is, and we surveyed the literature on what we surveyed the
We are surveyed. Implied.
Surveyed.
Surveyed. We are surveyed.
Literature.
Literature.
We surveyed the literature on what a healthy diet is, and according to that, what a healthy diet probably okay, but you shouldn't. If you treat it as luxury, it's probably. If you treat it as luxury, it's probably okay, but you should.
If you treat it as a luxury, it's probably okay. If you treat it as a luxury, it's probably okay.
Probably okay, but you shouldn't have more than one appropriate serving of red meat, which includes beef. Serving of red meat, which includes beef and
or pork.
Beef and pork per week. So the more beef and pork per week. Plant-based to go, you go. The plant-based to go, you go. The healthier and the lower in environmental impact. Healthier and the lower in environmental impacts. Healthier and the lower in environmental impacts.
healthier and lower impact.
Environmental.
Environmental impact. تأثير بيئي.
Impact.
Impact.
Healthier and lower in it's it.
And lamb.
It's it.
And lamb is
Yes. Yes.
So, do we need to cut out meat entirely?
Entirely.
Cut out meat entirely. Cut out meat entirely.
Entirely تماما. Cut out meat entirely. Cut out meat entirely تماما.
Cut out meat entirely.
he's
Cut out meat entirely.
he says that while a plant-based diet is certainly healthier,
It's certainly healthier. It's certainly healthier.
a plant-based diet is certainly healthier. A plant-based, you could still have some red meat, but only once a week.
But only.
Red meat, but only once a week.
But all.
Red meat, but only once a week.
Yes, he said, think of it as a luxury. Yes, he said, think of it as a luxury.
He said, think of it as a luxury.
Yes, he said, think of it as a luxury. Yes, he said, think of it as a luxury. A luxury food is one that we really enjoy.
A luxury food.
A luxury food is one that we really enjoy but don't eat very often. Perhaps but don't eat very often. Perhaps because but don't eat very often.
Very often. Very often. كثيرا.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
Perhaps because.
But don't eat because it's very expensive or rare.
Because very expensive or rare. Because it's very expensive or rare. Because it's very expensive
Rare.
or rare.
Because it's very
Delicious, but very bad for us. We eat it as a treat, but not for us.
We need it as a treat. كعلاج as a treat, but not every day.
For us, not every day. Springman says we should think of red meat in the same way. Not every day. We should think it shouldn't be a regular part of our diet. It shouldn't be a regular part of our
Regular part.
Regular.
Regular part. عادي.
body.
Regular part.
It shouldn't be a regular part of our diet. It shouldn't be a regular part of our diet.
How did he come to this opinion? How did he come to this opinion?
How did he come to this opinion?
Did they just make it up? Did they just make it up themselves? Did they just make it up? Did they
just make it up?
Did they just make it up themselves because it sounds like a good idea?
Sounds like a good idea.
Sounds like a good idea? Sounds like a good idea?
Not at all, Neil. He said that
Not at all. ليس على الإطلاق.
they surveyed the literature.
Survey the literature.
They surveyed the literature. They surveyed the literature. This means that as part of their report, they studied different
the different scientific
they studied different scientific research that had previously been published.
previously been
Scientific research that had
previously been published.
Their advice is based
Their advice is based on
Their advice is based on the evidence of those research papers.
the evidence of those research papers.
Okay, now the answer to our quiz. Okay, quiz question. I asked to what food group do peppers belong? Was it A, fruit? Catherine, you said?
I said B, vegetables. I said B.
Oh dear. Good try, but not right.
Oh dear. Good try, but not right.
Thanks for playing. The answer is A, fruit. Thanks for playing.
Fruit? Really?
Yes, a fruit is the part of a plant. Yes, a fruit is the part of a plant that contains the seeds.
That contains the seeds.
That contains the seeds. So peppers, like tomatoes, pumpkins, avocados, and olives are actually fruit. And olives are actually fruit. Well done. And olives are actually fruit. Well done if you got that one right. Now our vocabulary off. Now our first word is flexitarian.
Our first word is flexitarian.
This is the term for a diet that is mainly plant-based, but
can include meat.
This is the term for a diet that is mainly plant-based, but can include meat occasionally.
Our next word is ethical. Our next word is ethical.
But can include meat occasionally.
Our next word is ethical. This is in the context of choosing not to eat meat. Some people are vegetarian because they don't like meat. Some because they want a healthier diet.
But some people, they don't don't like meat. Some because they want a healthier diet.
Because they want a healthier diet for ethical reasons. This means for ethical reasons. This means that their choice is because they feel it is. Means that their choice is because they feel it is the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do.
The next phrase was a combination.
The next phrase was combination.
The next phrase
Phrase.
Phrase.
Phrase عبارات. The next phrase.
The next phrase was a combination of. The next phrase was a
Means that their choice is because they feel it.
That their choice because is because they're feeling.
Means that their choice is because they feel it. Means that their choice is the right thing to do. It is the right
of measures. This means taking of measures. This of measures.
Of measures. Of measures.
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 Measures. Measures.
Of measures. This means taking different action of measures. This means taking of measures. This means taking different actions to
Different action to achieve.
taking different actions to achieve taking different actions to achieve something, not just
Different action to achieve something. Different action to achieve something.
something, not just doing one thing.
Not just doing something. Different action to achieve تحقيق.
Taking different action.
We then had ambitious. We then had ambitious.
Ambitious.
We then had ambitious. If a person's ambitious, if a person's
If a person is ambitious, it means
if a person's ambitious, it means they want to get. It means they want to.
that means that they want.
It means they want to get. It means they want to get on in life. It means they want to get on. It means they want.
That they want to get on life.
It means they want to get on in life and be successful. Get on in life and be successful.
On in life and be successful. That they want to be that they want to get on in life.
Get on in life and be successful. But get on in life, ambitious can also be used to describe. Ambitious can also be used to plan or achievement. A plan which is impressive and above the ordinary.
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 Impressive. Above the ordinary. Impressive.
Impressive.
Impressive. محرج.
Impressive.
Which is impressive and above the ordinary. Which is
The next phrase was.
The next phrase العبارة التالية.
The next phrase was to survey the literature. This means to study and analyze the difference.
Analyze. Study and analyze. تحليل.
Analyze.
Study and analyze the difference.
To study and analyze the difference. To study Scientific research on a particular
Scientific research
Scientific research on a particular subject.
on a particular subject.
Scientific research on a particular subject. Scientific
And finally, we have luxury. When talking about food, when luxury is something that we only eat occasionally as a
Occasionally as a
special treat because occasionally as a
special treat. Special treat مكافأة.
Special.
Occasionally as a special treat because it's expensive or unhealthy but delicious.
Well, I'm off for a plate of delicious. Well, I'm off for a plate of delicious.
I'm off for a plate.
Well, I'm vegetables. Please join us next time and watch vegetables. Why not check us out on your favorites? Why not check us out on your favorite social media platform on our app?
A hunt for a good pancake recipe. A hunt for.
I'm always on a hunt. مطاردة. I'm always on a hunt.
A hunt for a good pancake recipe because I love pancakes, and I stumbled upon this.
And I stumbled upon. تعثرت.
Stumbled.
I stumbled.
I love pancakes, and I stumbled upon. I love pancakes, and I stumbled upon this one.
Upon this. I stumbled upon this. تعثرت على هذا بقى.
I love pancakes, and I stumbled upon this one. I love this one, and it wasn't vegan, so I veganized it.
It wasn't vegan, but
one, and it wasn't vegan, so I veganized it. One, and it's delicious. So let's get started. To start this recipe, we're just going to start it. Going to throw all our ingredients into the Vitamix. I'm going to be using Trader Joe's gluten-free oat.
Trader ملفوف.
Trader
Joe's gluten-free rolled oats. You can use any kind of oats you would like.
Can you use any kind of oats you would like?
I have celiac, so I'm making mine. Gluten-free. But if you don't have a problem with gluten, then you can use any kind of oats you like. So we're gonna add 2 cups. Add 1 ripe banana. I've got a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Half a teaspoon of vanilla. I need a tablespoon of ground flaxseed, tablespoons of water. Just let it sit for 5 minutes or so. Add 1 1/4 cups of plant milk. And
beating.
Beating. beating, beating.
So you want your griddle fairly
Griddle, griddle, fairly.
Griddle.
Griddle, صينية. Griddle, 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 griddle.
Skillet.
Skillet, مقلاة.
at my skillet over here and I'm
Over here, skillet. I am heating up my skillet. Plover,
be pourable, so if it's
purple,
and you see how it's beating up there, so that and you see, I've just got a little dab of Miyoko's. I've just got a little dab of
a little dab.
I've just got butter on this paper towel, and I'm just going butter on this paper, going to very lightly put a little, not a whole lot. And if you have a good not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot.
Not a non-stick pan, you don't have to do this. A non-stick pan, you don't at all. So let's pour in our pancake.
So let's pour our pancakes.
See, it's pretty thick. Oh, but look at that. See, it's pretty thick. So yummy. Let's just do a couple here. And we'll let these cook. And we'll let these cook. So they and a little bubbly, and then we will flip them. A little bubbly, and then we will flip them.
Flip them. Flip them. سنقلبهم.
Flip.
Flip them.
A little bubble. All right, I think they're ready to flip. And I think because you've put them in the butter, and I think a lot of air in there, and they are really a lot of air in there, really fluffy. So I'm going to continue making them really fluffy. Making the rest of my pancakes, and then we are going to, isn't that a pretty plate? I dressed it.
It's not that pretty plate. I just heard.
Isn't that a pretty plate? I dressed it up.
I dressed it. I dressed it.
Dress.
I dressed it.
Isn't that a pretty plate? I dressed it up. Isn't that a pretty up with little blueberries and just a little bit of maple syrup, and they just look delicious. So let's give these a try. All right, here we go. There, syrup. Good. And so easy. Oh my gosh, just a few simple. Good. And so easy. Oh my gosh, just a few simple ingredients to try. They're good for you. They're good to try.
Planet.
Plate determines your fate.
Determines.
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 Determines. يحدد. Planet determines.
Plate determines your.
Plate determines your fate.
Plate determines your fate.
Plate determines your fate.
Plate determines your fate. If you like this, plate determines your. This video, please give it a thumbs up. This video, please give it a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. And if you have